Andrew, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, Terry, so can we start off with having you introduce yourself and give us a little background on the case?
Well, my name is Terry Hobbs. I'm one of the parents of the uh, three little 8-year-old boys. One of our stepson, my stepson's name was Steve Edward Branch, and his two friends was Michael Moore and Christopher Byers. And these boys was murdered in 1993, and there was three boys tried or investigated, tried, convicted, and served time. So, and I currently live in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, beautiful country up here, and we enjoy it. We're living a nice, peaceful life, and just looking forward to talking and visiting with everybody today.
We're so glad you're here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time today, Terry.
Well, you all are more than welcome. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me.
I just want
So
you to know
Jennifer,
that I have a friend of mine who sent me a message the other day when she saw it pop up, and she was very excited that this was happening, added it to her calendar immediately, and was talking about how this has been the case that she has been obsessed with for a very long time. And it's definitely one that has gripped people.
Right, it has. It's drawn a lot of attention, uh, and I don't really understand that because I don't follow cases, cold cases, any kind of case, and it's never drawn my interest until this happened to us, and they still don't interest me. But I just don't understand why this case has been 32 years going, and it's just like it's very much alive, and I don't understand that. Someone's keeping it going for some reason.
I could probably give some information on that. I feel like what happened to the and Andrew and I were talking about this earlier. What really happened, the West Memphis three are the three boys, really. And I think that what happened to those 8-year-old boys probably still, haunts people. It's horrible and awful. And I think Paradise Lost brings attention to that, and people just still, what happened? Why did this happen? Why did they do this?
Well, that's one thing that we've never found out. We sit through the trials, we sit through everything that we could up to date. But the one thing that we as the parents have never found out is why. And I'm sure that that question lingers in everybody's mind. Uh, there's been, you know, everyone has their own, uh, they have their own thing that they think this is why it happened. This is why. When we don't really know, but we just one day, and I guess until you do find out, there's that part of the closure process that you may never get.
Right. Why why do you think it happened?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
serious. I don't know. I wish I knew.
What is your outward opinion on Damien Eccles? What do you think about him?
He's a sympathizer. He's looking for sympathy from any and everybody he can. And personally, I feel like that's one way they have in getting money out of folks. And
Right.
I think it might work for them. I don't know Damien Nichols. I've only seen things, that's happened over the years. And I think one of the latest things I've seen where they thought they had a new suspect. I think it's on his Twitter account.
Interesting.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I got someone said it to me and I screenshotted it and I have it. But it seems like they have a new suspect and they think they work with or for the West Memphis Police Department. And they claim the Eccles bunch claims that's why they try so hard to keep this covered up. I don't know. I don't believe nothing he has to say, but that was on his Twitter account.
Interesting. I did see where recently they had been still continuing to fight this DNA thing, and I found that interesting too. We've had technology that's changed over the years, and it doesn't make any sense why. I don't know if this why it just wasn't done to begin with, and I don't even know what it's going to end up changing and what it is that they're exactly wanting to test.
Well, I'm gonna guess there's, I haven't heard any other piece of evidence that they want to test but one thing. That's the hair that the defense claims belongs to me. So I don't know if it is my hair, but that I'm sure that's not the only piece of evidence that was at the crime scene. But they make people and they lead people to believe that's the only piece that was at the crime scene.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How close, I mean, so I don't know anything about like the relationship of the boys prior to this, but I'm assuming that they were all very good friends. Is that right?
There were 3 8-year-old boys attending the same school, Weaver Elementary in West Memphis. Yeah, they were. I think Mike and no, I think Christopher and Stevie was in the same classroom. Mike must have been in another class, but they went to Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts together, and we lived pretty close enough that they could come by our house or, you know, I don't know if Pam gives Stevie permission to go to their house. I know she did that day, May the 5th. But prior to that, I'm not sure. But I wouldn't let them get away from our home when I was home. So, they did know each other, go to school together, and went to Cub Scouts together.
Right. So then
Yes.
it wouldn't be uncommon though for the hair of somebody that you live with to be on somebody. So I guess I don't understand why that has become such a huge ordeal. It feels like
Normal.
a deflection.
I mean, obviously, I told Amy, I mean, one of my hairs could be at her house from us having lunch. I mean, it doesn't
I'm
make
just
sense.
hoping nothing happens to Amy.
I know, right? I know, right? I know. I know.
But that's how they look at it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
Terry, can you take us through that day? Can you give us your, like, what happened that day?
the day of May the 5th.
Yes.
Well, I'm just a dad. I'm go to work, get up, do my
Right.
thing, and go to work. Come home, and probably mid-afternoon when I get home, and I just walk around, look, and there's Amanda, and there's Pam, and I don't see Stevie. So I asked Pam. I said, "Where's Steve?" And he's off with Michael Moore, riding his bicycle. I said, "Okay." She said he's supposed to be home, and he didn't come home at 4:30 when she said. So, uh, we walk around and wait. She has to be at work at 5, and he doesn't show up. So we on the way to work. She was working at Catfish Island Restaurant in West Memphis. So on our way to work, we go by the Moore's house where she's supposed to be with Michael, and he wasn't. They wasn't home. So, or the bikes wasn't there. So we went on and took her to work. And then as a dad, I tell Pam, I said, "Look, I'll go back by the Moore's home and see if he's there." And I did, and had Amanda with me, my daughter, and they wasn't there. So, as not knowing or not thinking anything, we probably ride around a little bit, and we'll go back home and wait and see if he'd come home. And we didn't. None of that happened. So you just ride around. We walked around a little bit, rode around a little bit, and nothing. Couldn't find nobody. Didn't see nobody on 2 little boys on bicycles. And the day kept going on that same way. And then it starts getting a little later, and So, we stay in touch with the Moores. That's who he's supposed to be with Dana Moore. Excuse me, not Todd. He was gone. But, we just did what we did all the way up till dark, all the way up till I picked Pam up from work around 9, maybe 9 o'clock that evening. So we, all the way up until then, I just did what a parent would do, would get out and ride through the neighborhood and, just see if we could spot them riding their bicycles. And we never did. So I met Mark that evening, at the Moore's home. And I think was probably then when we figured out it could be all three of them together. So, we just do what we do all the way up. Oh, it happened several times, just ride around, go to the police department, call the police, meet with the police out in the neighborhood. And we went to the police department 3 times that night, during the night, all the way up till the AM the next morning. And it was just, at one point, it wasn't nerve wracking or scary, but later on, it turned into, a more concern, because we couldn't find them. So then all these crazy thoughts go through your mind, and and when you don't know, well, you're liable to think anything. And, I'm sure we probably thought I know we did, thought all kind of things that happened, but we didn't know.
By the way, I just wanted to tell you that Ed Opperman has popped in twice now and said hello.
Well, hi, Mr. Ed. He's cool.
Um,
Can I ask you, during that time period, what kind of work did you do?
I worked for Memphis Ice Cream Company in Memphis. I lived in West Memphis, and I drove an ice cream truck, not a van or a small truck. It was a big ice cream truck. I made chain store deliveries, mom and pop store deliveries, and I did that for 10 years for that company, selling ice cream. I was good at it.
Which means you would have been out and about in the community and people would have known you and stuff like that. So it's
Well,
not like
sure.
you were okay.
Yeah, I had a good client base. It's a strong company. Back in their day, it was a strong company, and they just had good customers. And over the years, these folks just took up to me because I like getting out and selling and meeting people and just having a good time with them, and I did that.
Andrew?
Yeah. So, do either of you have questions before I start asking them questions?
No, but I'll probably have them.
I was gonna say I do, but go ahead. We'll kick in.
Okay, Terry. So, as you know, one of the most frequently asked questions that come up during this case is, did you see the kids during the day that they went missing? I know that it's been said that there was people that saw you with them, and then there's people that recanted their statements. So, can you go over that a little bit?
I can go over that, and I'm gonna say this first of all. No, I did not. I've told the truth about that, and I will not change my story. But again, people has come out of the woodwork, just to get on TV. I think maybe just to get on podcasts or, get their few minutes of fame. And people, you wouldn't believe what they've done, and they've come out and said what you're talking about, which is there's no truth to that.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, people would do anything. That's like the young man that took off to California and got out there and told everybody he did it. He just wanted some fame. They brought him back. Remember that?
Yeah. And I think that also one of the things that people need to remember as well is that eyewitnesses aren't always reliable.
Right. And we've had a lot of that evidently in this case. And, You know, for years they picked on Mark, and people said all kind of things about him. Matter of fact, I was listening to a radio station one day in Memphis, and they were beating Mark Byers up. You know, people was just dogging him like you wouldn't believe, saying all kind of things. So I called him up. I called Ron Olson up. He was the DJ at that radio station. And whenever they heard it was me calling, well, they just got me right on the phone. And I told them, you know, and I told the truth, you know, why are you beating Mark up? And I asked questions, you know, and so, you know, there was questions for me because I called, you know, but I answered them, you know, and I told the truth about it, you know, and I still don't. I know Mark didn't have nothing to do it because and I tell folks here lately, I said, all you have to do is watch the Geraldo shows that we did back in the 90s. And I think we did 2 or 3 of them. But we're sitting on Geraldo's stage in New York talking about the night of May the 5th. Okay, you can see where everybody's telling pretty much the same story. But over the years, you know, as things come along, you know, people change their stories. My story's still the same. You know, I don't know any other story. I'm not gonna get out here and make up stuff just to try to make somebody look bad or look good. I'm gonna tell it like I remember it.
Terry, after watching Paradise Lost, you can really see the anguish on your face.
Well, of course,
The dad anguish in the courtroom.
yeah, we was devastated, you know, and some of that look on the face was probably shock. So we're sitting there in shock,
Yes.
you know, probably not really hadn't accepted it yet, you know, and there's so much that happened between the time that we got the phone call to be in court in West Memphis that we'll find out who they're charging with this. From that day up until the day of the trials, there's so much time come along and there's so many things that's happened that people just don't understand and don't know about. You know, so as we make our way into the courthouse during the trials, we're sitting there in shock, you know, not believing what we're seeing, what we're hearing, but we have to be there. We're representing our children, you know.
That had to be horrible. I saw the parts where
Absolutely.
it was, like, showing the pictures and stuff like that, and I have 6 kids, and I can't imagine ever seeing anything like that. It would never leave my brain.
I know, and we got up and tried to walk out, and what we did, we walked out of the courtrooms when they started putting the pictures up there, but I couldn't believe they did that. But I guess that's part of the process.
Yeah, and it's gross. So can y'all don't come for me, and Terry, please feel free to tell me that you don't wanna respond, and I will not be offended at all. But, at the beginning of Paradise Lost, there was an interview that was done with your ex-wife,
Hmm.
and she seemed, off.
Well, she was devastated, y'all. She was traumatized. She
Yeah.
was living the same shock that we was living. We was all living that shock at that moment. And
Okay.
Pam was really traumatized, and she probably took it the hardest. You know, Melissa took it pretty hard too, Mark's wife.
Well, I thought it
But
was very uncomfortable that that reporter was sitting there, and maybe this was part of the dynamic because that reporter was sitting there going, "Have you thought about going and joining him?" And it's like,
I thought that
joining
was
him.
weird. That was
And
weird.
I was like, "What?" And then he's like, suicide, and I was like, he did not just ask that.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
that was
did.
weird.
Yeah, I think that was Paul. I forget his last name, but yeah. Oh, folks, I mean, y'all just don't really know what all we've been through, especially back then. And to them, it's not their family. They don't know anything about our family. but they want to sensationalize what happened to us and use us in the process.
Right.
Hmm. I guess that really just everybody wants someone to pay for these, these murders of 3 8-year-old boys that absolutely did not deserve what they got, and everybody just gets emotional.
Yeah,
It's
there was a lot of that going around back then.
And how is your ex-wife doing now?
She's not doing well.
Yeah.
She still struggles with it. And from what I understand, now I call and talk to one of her sisters every once in a while, and she just tells me, Pam ain't doing good. So
Mm.
I don't know what's going on personally with her life, but I try not to talk to her because it's just like she's still harboring the anger.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't think anybody listening to this doesn't understand. I
Right.
think that would be very, I mean, I advocate for a family who was involved in, parts of the family are involved in a sex ring. And the mother, kind of like you guys, she got a lot of crap. She couldn't even go to the grocery store. So it's everybody kind of makes up their own opinion and goes with that, which is unfortunate. And they're hounded by the media and everything else.
Right. And the media is almost like vultures.
Yes.
They just pick and pick and pick and come up with some of the goofiest and dumbest things you ever heard of. But that's
Yeah.
the media for you.
Yes. They got to sensationalize it somehow.
Right. And during that process, it makes you, the victims' families, in our case, it makes us look a little bit different, and when we wasn't, we didn't ask to be drug into this.
Right.
And it
Absolutely.
makes you look weird in a way when we wasn't.
Hmm. Have you ever had a chance to talk to any of the Damien or Jason or Jesse?
I had a man one time want me to go. He claimed that Jesse Miss Kelly wanted to meet me and apologize. And now I don't know if this was true or not, but that's what he said. And I couldn't probably at the time. And I declined that meeting, but he did come up with that. But I've never talked to Baldwin or the Eccles.
Oh, hey, here's a question for you. Just curious, is Terry willing to tell us about his last memories with Stevie? How he remembers him instead of how the media has portrayed all of this?
Well, I can't. I don't know if I can say the last memories, but I do have some nice memories of him, and I'll share one with you. And I think I've shared it before. Uh, we go into the barbershop, and you'll see the picture that they all put on out there. You know, at the moment where he's got that spike haircut, and so he wanted to get a spike haircut, and that barber asked him, said, "What kind of haircut you want today?" "I want a spike." And the barber kind of laughed and he said, "It ain't funny. I want a spike." So we set him down and gave him the spike haircut. He looked at me and I shrugged my shoulders, give him the spike. So he did, and it fit him. It looked good on him.
Hmm.
So, and I'll say, let me share another one. He had a go-kart that looked like one of them Indy 500 cars. And he just thought he was AJ Foyt. He'd ride through the neighborhood, and just in having a good time, just in enjoying himself.
Aw.
Yeah,
Yeah, being a kid was totally different way back then.
yeah. Let me share one about Christopher Byers. Chris and Mike come to our house one day, and Amanda they were 8 and she was 4. So Chris gets ready. They're getting ready to leave, and I'm standing there. I had the doors open, and they're standing at the door, and Chris is standing right there by the door, and he's looking at Amanda. And I look over at him. I said, "Boy, what you looking at? She's pretty." I said, "That's my 4-year-old daughter. You better get out of this house." And yeah, but he had it act like he had a thing for Amanda at 4 years old, and he was 8.
Aw.
Yeah, they were just good memories that you just remember. And they were just 3 little, 4 little kids. And they come over. We had a pool in the backyard, and Stevie'd love to get back there and swim. And a 33,000-gallon in-ground pool in the backyard. It had a big slide on one end and a big diving board on the other end. So yeah, they'd get out there and just have fun.
I wanted to say one of the girls in here, she said that her mom babysat one of the kids and really talks about it due to the trauma. And then she also has said she wants to know, do you think that the guys were falsely charged, or do you think that they were rightfully charged?
Well, honestly, to answer that, I'd have to say I only know what the police has always told us. And like I said, when we went to our first hearing in West Memphis to find out who was being charged for this, you see 3 teenagers up there, and we don't know them. So, and they kind of look at the time like, just 3 little hoodlums. So the police is really confident about charging them, about investigating them, charging them. So other than that, I'm gonna have to say, until I'm told otherwise by the police, I still believe that the police charged the right 3.
Okay. I think that I know that when I was watching it, and I went and I started looking at more stuff about Damien over the years and stuff like that, and he just gives me, I don't know, he gives me weird vibes.
Well, a lot of folks say that, but I don't know. I don't keep up with him, so I don't know. I always believed after the trials and sitting there and seeing what he done during the trials and how they all 3 acted during the trials, it leads you to believe some things. So I don't know what else to say.
Andrew, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just listening. So Terry, being that Arkansas had the death penalty at the time of this case and has the death penalty to this day, did you feel different prior to these murders happening about the death penalty versus after the 3 were convicted?
I never paid attention to it. I always just grew up thinking, if you get out here and you hurt and kill people, that you deserve it. You know, that doesn't mean that it's right, but that's just the way I believe. So after this happened, well, sure, we all voiced our opinions that they wanted to talk to us. The prosecutors wanted to talk to us and see how we felt about it. So naturally, we wanted the death sentence because what they done to our kids. But you know what? I had a prosecuting attorney right up here where I'm living at tell me not long ago. I went down and talked to him a little bit, and he said, there was one mistake that was made in this case. And I looked at him kind of strange, and I said, "What was that?" He said, "They give him the death sentence, the death penalty to Damien Eccles." He said, "If they hadn't have done that, you probably wouldn't have heard about this case. But since they did," he said, "there's advocates out here on death penalty cases that, they're trying to abolish it in every state." And I never paid attention to that until he told me that. Now, and maybe that could have, maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know, but that's what I was told.
That's actually, I think, probably a really valid point.
Yeah, he thought it was.
Their age also had to play into it because you have all of the juvenile advocates as well. Huh. Now I'm going to mull that one over. I really hadn't thought about that because in this case, honestly, probably more than any other case that I've seen has such, I mean, it had so many celebrities that were behind it.
It did. Yeah, but and I guess that could probably fall back to Laura Davis was good at doing what she did. She got out and I'm thinking that she was the one who drummed up all these celebrities, and however she got that going, it looks like she did that part of it well.
Definitely. Wow. That is definitely going to make me look at it differently. You weren't in here earlier when I said that I remember this case from back in the day. I was just barely, I mean, I was about the same age as them, and um it was one of those things, but I had children at the time. I had my first one very young, and so it was one of those like, oh, this happened. These are little babies, and just kind of affected the way I parented. But I've been so far, like I followed it then, but I've been kind of removed from it. So I went back and started brushing up on it and stuff. And now I'm going to go back and read court transcripts and everything. And I'm actually really excited to do it and dig in again with different eyes. I got different eyes this time.
Right. Well, I stay out of it. I just leave it alone because it's been 32 years, and to me, there's no sense in it. It should be the things happening should be happening, but they are. It's like the state said after the Supreme Court hearing the other day. The state said they're just using the resources. I think the state's pretty aggravated about what they keep doing.
Mm.
So Terry, over the years, people have criticized the West Memphis Police Department on handling this case. How do you think that they handled it? Do you think they did the best to their ability, or do you think they could have done more?
Well, I'm not a police officer, so and I don't really know much about that part of the law. I don't really know nothing about it. I just don't get, I don't bother the police. They don't bother me. But I'm sure, and I would think that they done the best they could. I believe that, and I've always believed that, and I've always said that, and I still say that.
So I heard about a book that got written by one of the attorneys.
Well, I heard about it too, and guess
Did
what?
you? Oh my
He
gosh.
he come right up here to where I live. There's a Arkansas State University here, college, and he come right up here and had a book signing. It's just like everything that happened to this case. They bring it right up here to where I live at. Mar Levitt showed up here not long before that, and so why they had to come out? I'm not gonna go down there and buy a book. Man, he didn't give me one. He didn't invite me. But they bring it up here to where I live. And if I showed up, well, sure, I'd like to walk up and just hee-haw slap him, but you can't do that because then you get escorted off the campus.
You said I'll slap him.
Yeah, just like a donkey, just kick that dude.
Oh my. Oh Lord.
Yeah, and I've heard this, I don't know, several times, that I'm one of the targets in his book. I don't understand that. Why would you target me when your own client, Miss Kelly, was his client and he couldn't control and he couldn't shut up? And Miss Kelly did everything against Dan Stidham's wishes or his advice. And he just did everything that he didn't want him to do. And one thing he done the most was he had to tell people he did it, that they all three did it. And he
Yeah.
did that 7 or 8 times to different people. So why
And
would you pick on me in your book when you can't even control your own client?
another thing that, you know, I have my friend Amy here, and my sister is a lawyer. And the one thing that lawyers want to do is point the blame in a different direction. That's what they do. I'm not saying, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what the book says, but lawyers are programmed to put the blame on someone else.
Is your
So-
sister sitting there?
No, no. Well, she is on here, but no. No, but I know how they work. I just know I know how all that's done. And I'm not saying he did that. I don't know, but I mean, of
Oh,
course
yeah.
he's going to point it in another direction. Of course he's going to do that.
Right. And
That's
and
what they've been doing.
I will say, in my defense, not a lawyer, just a JD. I chose not to go that route.
Well, yeah, I mean, just in your basic knowledge, you know what I'm saying? In your basic knowledge, not that you're an attorney, but you do know the law.
I'm a law professor.
Now, who is this?
I'm Amy.
Okay, and you're a professor?
Yes.
Oh, well, you need to tell them, y'all quit doing that. And you start blaming the blame on the blame. Who gets it?
Well, but she's right though. I mean, that is what it is about, raising reasonable doubt. And what better way to raise reasonable doubt than to jump on the celeb train and write a book and go out and push it and do all that stuff. Just, you know,
And point the fingers at somebody else.
yeah. It has to be
Yeah.
anybody but the person who said they did it.
I know, and we've had 32 years of that. Don't they ever get tired?
No. No. As a matter of fact, so while we're at it, y'all who are listening, don't come for me, don't come for Terry. But I have been working, you know, with like the case probably that I know the most is the Atlanta child murders. And John Douglas was a problem in that one. You know John Douglas, right?
Who are you asking me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know him. I've met John. Now, hang on. I got to say this hillbilly style. I know John Douglas. You talk about a dingbat.
Shoot far,
Yes.
you know John Douglas.
Yeah, I met John Douglas twice. The first time I met him, he thought I was okay. And the first time I met him, I was just as honest with him as I would be with anybody. The second time I met him, I'm just wondering what happened to John. Because him and his lady attorney friend that was with him, all of a sudden had the attack mode against me. And I hadn't done nothing to John Douglas. So as I get up and walk out of their motel room, they keep telling me, get back in here and you sit down, you sit in front of this camera and you answer all these questions. And I just, keep on walking. I almost time said, you ain't my daddy, but, I just walked out and left them. But yeah, John Douglas has got out and done everything wrong toward our case. And I don't understand that.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
It's not any different than Bob Ruff. Bob, now this is my name for Bob. Bob the Crime Dog Ruff. Bob is not an expert on the West Memphis 3 case. He's taken advantage of David Jacoby He's taken advantage of Pam and her family, and he's got out here and made them look silly, uh, doing and saying the things that he's done to them. And it was embarrassing to sit there and watch that on the Oxygen channel. The interviews that he did with David Jacoby. David Jacoby, at the time when all this happened, he was an awesome friend, and we worked together. We sit around and play. I give him a guitar one time, and we'd sit around and play guitars. And he was just a good, hardworking man trying to take care of his family, just like I was. And then to see Bob Ruff come along, and him and his sidekick, I forget his sidekick's name, but I used to have a name for him too. But to see how they take our case, and I don't know if they're making money off of that, but they just take our case and twist it. And he even I did a segment with CrimeCon. They took in Vegas, but I didn't go to Vegas, but we did audio, or video, but they took my CrimeCon interview and just twisted it all around and just tried to make me look bad. And and that's what has happened with several people in this case, and they do that for whatever reason. But we don't appreciate it, so you kind of leery of talking to anybody after you keep getting stabbed in the back several times, and this has happened over and over and over. So I quit talking to folks.
I can see that. And by the way, I just want to give a disclaimer again. I know some of you weren't here in the beginning, and I see y'all TikTok. It's not about. This isn't about like attacking anybody, not Terry, not anybody. It is about talking and understanding what he has to say, and it's not about being ugly.
Well, there's people that do that. I get emails from people all around the world, and I get threats from people, and I save them. But I don't know for what reason. I haven't done a thing wrong in this case, but I still get them because of what Bob Ruff, what John Douglas, what Joe and Bruce, Paradise Lost, and what Amy Bird, all these people that makes all these documentaries, and she's part of the Peter Jackson bunch. All these people attack me just because they can. When we try to stop it, starting with the Dixie Chicks, and when the federal judge calls you a public figure and denies your chance to move forward with, shutting these people up, well, there you go. He opens the door for any and everybody to attack you.
Terry, what is your opinion of the Bojangles guy?
I was about to ask that too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have one because I don't know. All I know is, what I've read and heard during the trials, where I think the lady officer thought it was just ketchup. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they just do it out. I don't know what was on that man or on the inside that restaurant, but I don't know.
I was wondering also, like, where was all the blood and stuff?
Yeah, did they ever say anything about that? Because from the crime scene photos and stuff that we were looking at, it didn't seem that, I don't know, it just didn't seem like the trauma to the bodies happened in the place that they were found.
Okay. Didn't y'all hear about the part where they got some aluminol from the FBI and they used it out there and said there was blood everywhere, but they had, I guess it was close enough to water where they used the water to clean up the area? That's the way I understand it.
Now, I did see something. I did see somebody talking about that because they were talking about that the area itself was too clean and that they didn't think that a 16, 17, and 18-year-old kid would have done that. And I'm going to second that because I've had boys that age and they are not clean. But that was something that bugged me. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it does me too. It does me too.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
Sure.
With Damien Eccles reading books on Aleister Crowley, and the people that does these kind of things, I would imagine, I've never read one of the books, and I won't. I would imagine they tell you how to clean up a crime scene in them books. I don't know, but Eccles had books and he read that stuff. And I've wondered too. Is that where you got to clean up the place at?
And how do you think they would have been able to precisely and skillfully do the things that they did? Like, where would they have learned that?
I know. I don't know. I've wondered that too, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Did they ever look at anybody like a Boy Scout leader? Because that just got brought up in the comments. And I'm going to tell you something. They would know how to use the knife and stuff to do that.
Not to mention, the buyer's dad had a knife that someone said there was blood on it, but was never tested and thrown away.
Well, do you remember during the trials, the first trial in Corning, Arkansas, with Jesse Misskelley, that knife come up. He gives the knife to one of the, I think, cameramen of the Paradise Lost group.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they spotted the blood, and that's when they put him on the stand and just drilled him. And he told them during the trial, that he was making venison and cut himself, and that's probably where the blood came from.
Right.
If it wasn't the venison blood itself.
Right.
That's interesting.
So yeah, that's once again falls under let's point the finger.
Right. I guess, it's like, I'm just curious. Like, I would really, really, really like to know how those three boys got the knowledge to do what they did to the buyer's boy. Like,
I know.
how would you learn that? I mean, you
Well,
couldn't
hold
do
on.
that. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go back to the concept of the books and stuff like that Damien Eccles may or have been reading and stuff. I don't know that the stuff with Aleister Crowley would have like been necessarily kind of instructive in that respect. Maybe it would have. I don't know. I haven't read anything. But does anybody know if a list of books from his, or like books and videos maybe from his room, has ever been made available?
I don't know. Do you remember one time there was a storage building somewhere here in Arkansas that went up for sale, and someone bought it, and it just happened to be Lori Davis didn't make her payment, so they sold it, and all the stuff in there was stuff that belonged to them from years from the past, and it could be in there. His collection of books.
That would be interesting to see because you can learn a lot from reading and watching things, even fictional.
Yeah. I guess I don't do all that, so I don't know.
Maybe I just watched too much Law and Order.
That's a good show, though.
It is.
We used to watch it.
It is a good show. Andrew?
Yeah, so I want to plug the documentary that we've been working on, Terry. So the first time we filmed it, it didn't work out, but the second time it worked out. And there's an indie filmmaker by the name of Jonathan Doe who films like horror movies and whatnot. And we worked on a documentary, I'm sorry, called If Trees Could Talk, a conversation with Terry Hobbs. And this is about Terry's life, about an unbiased, account, from him. he's playing music in there, talking about the case. We follow him in everyday life, and I just wanted to plug that real quick. And Terry, how did you feel that went the second time? I know the first time we won't really talk about that, but how do you feel that the filming went the second time with Jonathan Doe?
Well, it was interesting. It was fun. Uh, they learned a lot by filming us, and they see what kind of people we are, how we live. And in my opinion, we live nice. We live comfortable. And back in '93, when we was living in West Memphis, we had a 4-bedroom home, 2 baths, 33,000 gallon in-ground swimming pool in the backyard, privacy fence all around it. So, in my opinion, back then, we lived nice. And we don't have a pool, we have lakes today. So, we still live nice. And that's all I've done all my life is tried to provide the best for my family. And I really enjoyed myself when Jonathan and Andrew was here, and we put some heart and soul into this. And I hope that it does well, and I hope everybody involved in it does well. And we was proud to do this. We don't have anything to hide. We try to hide our good life from everybody, you know, but that's just how we do it. And we was really honored to get to do this.
Andrew's good people.
He is.
I try to be.
I'm gonna buy him a James Brown wig one day.
I definitely need a wig because I've been balding for a few years.
I'm gonna slap it on him and sing that song. I feel good.
Make sure somebody's videoing it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with y'all, and I would like to say, and I hope everybody don't believe, and there's lots of them that do believe all the negative stuff that comes out of this case, because it's just like it won't stop, So as we try to move on, and we do, we're good about it. We enjoy life, and they can enjoy life just as well. And I hope the whole world enjoys life. But there's so much going on out here. You have to find peace somewhere. I found it in the mountains.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bunch of hillbillies up here.
There's some in Georgia too.
So there you go. Good vote.
I want to say too for everybody to remember that cases like this that are very high profile, they become I don't know, I feel like the whole point of it is to make everybody be divisive. It's supposed to make everybody have one side or the other, and media often manipulates people. I want to say that if you guys don't do this already, when you watch documentaries and things like that, go look it up for yourself. Don't, start doing your research instead of just relying on, one book, even 2 books, 1 documentary, 2 documentaries. There's always more to it. And, it's still okay for people to have differing opinions, and you don't have to be mean about it.
Right. Very well said.
It's sad. People lost people, and and then you've got this whole like country of people who are willing to argue over who did it.
Right. And it's easy to sit behind a computer, a laptop, a telephone, and call names. And what gets me is how the big platforms allow this when they stand up before Congress and try to make them look like, oh, we're just angels providing platforms where it ought to be a regulated platform, which hopefully it will be one day. Until then, why it's caused so much abuse in families' lives all around the world. And there needs to be a care point somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, just being a decent human being goes a long way, and it's not hard to be one. It is really sad. And the true crime community is, honestly, I feel like if we look at cases where people have come together, like in the Golden State Killer and things like that, it can be amazing. Everybody can do wonderful things. But then you see cases where, it's just toxic, and it's the ugliest place I've ever seen. And they do bully people, and it's not okay.
Right. And say, you know something, when they hire these high profile profilers to come along and put their input in it, sometimes it just damages cases, and our case is closed. But these guys out here want to treat it like it just happened, and they point fingers, call names, and just cause more hurt for victims' families. And I understand there's real victims' families. That's this family. But then again, it's all these dodos out here that, go out here and really hurt and kill their families. And that gives everybody a bad name when there are really honest, true victims' families.
100%. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I can't even, like I said, I can't imagine. I mean, I've experienced it, and I haven't lost anybody in the process, and I can't imagine the hate that gets, spewed towards everybody in a case.
Right. Right. People don't care. They hide behind these networks and just spew out anything, and they don't even sometimes probably don't know what they're saying. They just say things.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
Well, when's part 2 of your book coming out?
I don't know. It's so hard to write a book about this because uh, you can write for a while and then you have to get away. And right now I'm in the way part of it because it takes a toll on you.
You know what you're doing wrong, right?
I know what I'm doing wrong, right?
No, I said you
Okay.
know what you're doing wrong, right?
Oh, what am I doing wrong?
You are not having me help you.
Is this Amy?
Yes.
You'll be hearing from me.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Seriously, I have a good story that I've been working on, and and still things that people don't know.
Listen, I'm a wonderful writer. I will toot my own horn on that. I'm also a really good editor too, so
Okay,
I'm just
well,
saying.
I'm gonna get in touch with you then.
Andrew has my number.
Yep, I sure will, and I thank you for that. And we'll just see where we can take it.
Sounds good to me.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Terry, it was so good talking to you.
It really was.
It's really good to just to hear your side and hear how you're doing after everything that's happened. It was really good talking to you.
Well, thank you, and I've enjoyed this, and just to meet over the phone, good folks, and instead of haters, and I appreciate this.
Yeah. And Andrew, next time you go see him, you should be inviting both me and Jen.
Yeah, especially if you like ribs, during I love to
Oh,
cook.
yep. Yep, the Grub House. Terry's house is called the Grub House for a reason.
Yeah, because I know how to cook. That's why. You got to come try it.
Sounds like a plan. Well, I guess there'll have to be a documentary premiere at some point, right?
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I'm supposed to talk to Jonathan Doe in the next week or so about. We should have a trailer in the next month and a half tops. And I was talking to Amy last night about possibly getting help, premiering it on some big network or something like that, because Amy has a lot of connections. So we definitely want to go big with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, Fox Nation is reaching out to folks. I don't know if y'all know this, but Fox Nation has made contact with people. So there's interest being drawn from somewhere.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And well, you know what? I put a post up on TikTok the other day just saying that we were going to be talking with you. And actually, I just did it earlier yesterday, and it had like almost 8,000 views by the time this started.
Well, there you go. Yep. Well, expect to hear from Fox Nation. Now they're a streaming platform, and they are very interested in talking to folks.
Well, since I'm going to be helping you write your next book,
That's right.
Just throwing that out there.
I'm putting it into the universe.
Well, I'm gonna get a hold of you. We're gonna seriously talk about this.
Listen, I have so much fun writing books with people too. It is a blast.
Okay. Well,
Just-
good. Thank you.
And on Tuesday, I actually have a meeting with a producer about doing another show. But I will ask her. She's told me that I can submit anything. So once you guys get ready, you can get the sizzle reel to me, and I'll hook you guys up with her. She's amazing.
Sounds good. Andrew, did you get that?
Oh, he knows.
Oh, I got it. We've been talking about it the last couple days.
Okay. Well, let's ring Mr. Johnson's bell and get him involved.
Oh yeah, we will. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk in the next week or so, and we're gonna get a trailer up soon, and we'll send you a couple trailers to pick from, which one you like the best, and then we'll get it out there, and hopefully this will be something big.
Hopefully one of them's an Airstream. Did you get that? Airstream, them Winnebago motorhomes.
Hey, I
trailer
want
trailers.
an Airstream. I want an Airstream.
I want one of those too.
I'm dying for an Airstream.
Hey, there you go.
Well, I
No,
appreciate you,
we'll get it going.
and we'll have to talk again closer to time for the documentary
Sure.
and the book release.
Yeah. Amy, you just got so many ideas. We
You
need to
have
get you on
no
payroll.
Terry, you have no idea. This girl calls me 24/7 a day with ideas. You have no idea.
Well, somebody needs to get her on payroll.
Trust me, we're working on it. Don't you worry. It's going to happen. Don't you worry.
I actually have a book publisher that I work with, and he told me the other day, he said, you know what? He said, I just need to just find somebody to invest in you. He was like, just take all of the things that you're wanting to do and just make them happen for you. And I was like, I'm not opposed.
Exactly. Well, if you can come up with some good ideas, that's what it's about.
Just you wait. All right.
Well, good.
Thank you guys all for being here today too, and for everybody on YouTube and Facebook for being respectful. TikTok, I'm still looking at you.
Well, that's probably this long. If it's wrong to chime in on TikTok, we'll tell you that we're fixing to kick you out of America. So, and we're going to take it over.
I don't think it's going anywhere, but
No, it'll just be turned over to somebody new.
I did want to say, I saw Cynthia's message in here that said it's been awful for us. I really just want to say how sorry I am for all this. I mean, everything. The murders of these boys was, I mean, probably one of the most horrific murders I've ever seen.
agreed. And nobody should be treating you guys like that. And for everybody who's out there, just remember, whatever you're saying to them, it doesn't make it the truth.
Yeah, and I can also speak, as said earlier when we first got on, that I work with a family who went through the same thing. And I can 100% tell you that family had nothing to do with what happened. So it is possible that opinions just go out of control. It is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one hair does not make a criminal.
No.
Absolutely does not.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
And I'm still kind of leaning on what I believe, but that's not to me. Terry, you're the last person to me in my eyes. based on what I've seen.
Thank you. And in my eyes, I can't believe that I've been a target.
I have heard the same thing from Brittany Wood's family. It's I don't understand it. I really don't understand it, and I don't understand it.
Well, I think I know where some of mine started. Ron Lax, he was the lead investigator during the trials for the defense. When I met with him, I wouldn't give him DNA. I wouldn't answer his questions. I got up and walked out. And he yelled at me and he said, "I'm going to sick the dogs on you, Hobbs." And, from that day forward, Ron passed away, I think some kind of brain cancer. But from that day forward, it was John Douglas, just one after another that has come along. And it's just, they singled Hobbs out. And that could be where it started. And it's just, it keeps going.
Well, as somebody who talks to students all the time about, criminal procedure and all of that, one thing that I will say is that should never be held against anybody. And I know that the prevailing mindset is, oh, well, if they don't have anything to hide, they might as well just do it. And the thing of it is you may have nothing to hide, but you also have nothing to reveal, because some of these agencies, their powers are just no. You have some people who have confirmation bias, and they will tailor whatever it is that they're doing around that. And I will say Child Protective Services is the one that I use this about the most, but I don't, it happens with police too.
Right. Well, I've got the article where the West Memphis Police Department, Mike Allen was the one that wrote the article that said, trying to explain that hair that they're talking about could have been secondary transfer. But as the years have gone, every time they single my name out, they never post that article. So I had to, when I do, I'll post the article. The art or justice, there's a board in Arkansas, justice something, where they just have got my name out there and just dog me. And then I put that article on there, and it kind of slows it down, but they do. And I just don't understand why. But man, they beat me up one like 2,000 or 3,000 comments on that one. It was all singled me out. But we keep going.
Well,
Just go stay in the mountains, Terry.
Yeah, I'm gonna find me a
Quiet
cave.
there. It's quiet there.
Yeah, I'm gonna find me a cave and get in there and just live.
not a bad idea.
I mean, I'm right behind you.
As long as as long as I can still get, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, we gotta have the internet in there.
Oh yes, and the internet. Amazon Prime and the internet. We'll be good.
So I do want to mention, if anybody's interested in this case, looking up documents and photos and everything else, there's a website called callahan.mysite.com, and somebody years ago submitted a FOIA request, and anything and everything related to this case is on there. So if you have an opinion that might possibly change after going through everything on there, it's a treasure trove of evidence and documents and anything you can think of related to the West Memphis 3 case.
And Andrew, since you're talking, go ahead and plug it again.
The Callahan website?
No, your documentary.
Oh, the documentary is called "If Trees Could Talk: A Conversation with Terry Hobbs," and that should be out in like 1 to 4 months tops. We'll have a release date in the next week or two once we have the trailer out. So yeah, as time gets closer, I'll definitely be posting about it more, and I'll have Terry post about it, and anybody that supports him will be in the West Memphis 3 groups and all that. So we'll definitely get it out there as time gets closer.
Yeah, and don't forget Box Full of Nightmares. That's a book that me and my cousin got together and wrote about this. And it's published. It's available on Amazon. And just give you something else to read.
Until the new one comes out.
until the new one comes out.
Until
That's
the new one
another
comes
plug.
out. Do we have anything else we want to plug while we're here?
Yes, you guys should follow Andrew. You should follow his podcast, and he's on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. And you should follow Jen. She's on TikTok under Justice for Brittany Wood, and on Facebook. And she does a lot of really amazing things for advocating for that family, or not for that family, for Brittany
For
and
Brittany,
for her mom.
Yeah.
And you know what? While you're at it, just follow me everywhere too.
Yeah, it's TikTok, Facebook,
Yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Yes.
And let me say something real quick. I have a YouTube account, Terry Hobbs, where I post my Grub House, some of my Grub House events, and some of my music that I write. Now, some of my songs that I write come from what happened in 1993. It's emotional, some of them are, and there's a lot of heart that went into this. But my YouTube account is where I'm trying to take a negative and make a positive out of it.
Good. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah. And because I just don't live the negative stuff. And, there's too much of that out here.
It's
That's
toxic.
not me.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, y'all. Do we want to stay on after Mr. Hobbs gets off?
I don't know. We didn't want to keep you all day. I know you said you were going to the lake.
Yeah, I'm heading to the lake as soon as we get off here.
Oh, jealous.
Yeah, enjoy
Well,
the lake
have
and tell
fun.
Cindy I said hi and tell her to
I
keep you in
will.
line with those paintballs.
Yeah.
We will. Well, thank you guys, and I'll get off here so y'all can hang up. And I love you. I appreciate you. America, keep on moving forward, and know that us hillbillies are still hillbillies, and we love you.
I expect that
Thanks,
phone
Terry.
call too. Everybody heard it that was listening.
Well, good. All right, here's how I like to end something. Okay, gotta go. See you later. Love you. Bye. See y'all.
Bye.
All right. See you,
Bye.
Terry. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yes, sir. Bye.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That was so interesting. It's so interesting. I don't understand what the deal is and why they think he's guilty.
Because again, you get people who come along and like those attorneys who want to it's all about reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Well, it's like you have one piece of hair, and that just doesn't sit well with me. It's like, okay, so everyone pretty much thinks there's an adult involved, which I don't disagree with. But he is the last one. I don't know. He's like the only one to me that really is not involved in this.
Yeah. I got I mean, I didn't think about somebody like the Boy Scout leader until one of the people in here said the comment, and I was like, oh, you know what? That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think about it. But in terms of it being necessarily the 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, possible, sure. But I don't know.
It's just kind of hard. I don't know.
You're paused on TikTok, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry, I let my phone go dead. Hold on. I don't know. It's polarizing.
It is.
People either think, they did it or they didn't do it. And most people think if they did it, then one of the dads helped.
You know who I think is because the thing that you're talking about right there, I mean, people seem to latch on to their suspect, and it's their suspect and their suspect only. It can't be anybody else.
Right.
Right. I think Jason Jensen is probably the best example of this. If you guys don't know who Jason Jensen is, you should definitely go follow him on Facebook. I'm trying to get him to get more followers on TikTok, but he is an amazing PI. He's out in Utah. He's under Jason K. Jensen PI on Facebook, and I think he's such a really good example of kind of shifting gears, because for a while he was working on the JonBenet Ramsey case. And he was talking about a suspect that he had in mind that was in the neighborhood of JonBenet Ramsey. And then he started learning about, Gary Oliva, who is somebody who's come along and his handwriting matches. And he's said that he was the one who did it. And, it was interesting watching him because I was like, oh, so good. Like, you really kind of took it in. You listened with like open mind, open heart, open eyes. And, and now you're seeing things differently than you were before. But a lot of people aren't open to that because they just get so hell bent on it has to be this person.
And I also wanted to, because Andrew and I were talking about something earlier, and now I just totally forgot my brain. Never mind. I can't remember. I can't remember. Go ahead.
I said I didn't do it. Andrew?
I don't really have much more else to say. I've just been listening the whole time because I've interviewed Terry quite a few times now. So I was just listening to you guys kind of get a grasp of the case and get his opinion and all that. So I've just been listening, just chilling in the background.
Do we want to, does anybody else have any questions?
Not that we can answer it.
Right. Or just want to say something? Anything to add?
Better yet, I have a question. Does anybody have like a specific case that you want us to try to get somebody from that particular case to talk about?
Good question.
Huh? Might not be the person you want from that particular case.
Right.
Just saying. We can still try.
When can we get Wayne Williams on?
You know what? Listen. So Wayne Williams is most commonly connected to the moniker the Atlanta child murders. And it's ridiculous. It's a misnomer. But Wayne ended up calling a friend one time a couple of years ago. And this is all on, you can find it on YouTube. And his buddy was at this town hall meeting where they were doing it with the parents and families of the victims. And they put him on speakerphone and held it up to the speaker in the church. And, Channel 2 was there recording it. And it was absolutely just, he got so much backlash for it. They thought that he was calling from a contraband phone. He was actually calling from a wall phone. And he ended up getting in trouble for it. And so they kind of pulled his ability to talk publicly like that. So can he talk to me? He can talk to me all day long. But not necessarily openly. Yeah. So like when they were doing the 40th anniversary, Mark Winnie from Channel 2 News is the one who's kind of reported on this, the most over the years for Channel 2. And when that was happening, he wasn't even allowed to like ask Wayne for an interview until Wayne sent a letter to him asking for it. So Wayne had to initiate it. And so Wayne sent it to me and I had to get it to Mark. And then Mark had to turn around and take that letter along with his request and send it to the DOC and still got denied.
Oh, wow.
It's a mess.
So Sunny said she wants to hear from him.
I'm sure a lot of people do, including myself.
Y'all be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Wayne's a talker.
I'll tell you that had a conversation with Wayne Williams, and I remember that case. And for whatever reason, I don't know, you can come at me in the comments, whatever. I just never thought he was guilty. So I'm basing my, opinions on him based on that. But he literally sounds like a grandpa, like the normal grandpa.
Yeah. He was not at all what I expected. He's just, I don't know. He's really smart. He's really, I don't know. He's very, I do not think he's guilty. Not one bit.
Yeah.
Not one bit. Especially of because I mean, really and truly, in talking in terms of legalities, you have the two main cases that he was convicted of, which were Nathaniel, Jimmy Ray Payne and Nathaniel Carter. That's who it is. You're muted, Jen.
I am
on TikTok. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So the two main ones that he was convicted of were the Jimmy Ray Payne and Nathaniel Carter. And one of the things that I will say is that it was Nathaniel Carter that was the one that they claim that he threw over the bridge. And fun fact here, which I think is absolutely absurd, and that is the fact that they were trying to figure out how he did this, how he got the body like out of the car and over the side and, into the water and everything else, because they never testified that he had stopped. So they even sent somebody to Haiti to go see about learning about voodoo levitation. And it was absolutely the dumbest thing. And, but the whole thing about the bridge and everything is absolutely kind of ridiculous to begin with. And I will say that Wayne kind of, he did himself no favors, because back then he was young. He was very arrogant. He was, he just, I don't know. He was just very, weird. I'll just use weird. But no, I don't think he was guilty at all. And in terms of the other ones, when they brought in Jimmy Ray Payne, there's actually a document that we came across, and they brought in Jimmy Ray Payne specifically so they could bring in the fiber evidence. And that's how they brought in the 10 pattern cases. And out of the 10 pattern cases, some of the things that don't make sense. One is you have what is Alfred Evans. Alfred Evans was number 2 on the list, and he was connected to the death of Edward Hope Smith. And I just don't understand how you can put number 2 on the list, but not number 1. Like, that makes zero sense totally. And then another one that they put on there was Luby Jeter. And Luby Jeter, what's interesting about him is the fact that, and this is your trigger warning if you're squeamish, but his autopsy report reads in a very specific way that shows that he was essentially mutilated. It says that there was small animal damage to his scalp, face, and neck. Then it says that the skin from his groin and the anterior part, which is the upper part of his right leg, was removed, and his feet were missing. There's no indication of animal damage being the cause of the other two. The animal damage is only noted to the upper part, with his head, neck, and scalp. So I thought that was interesting. He had 2 convictions that he was convicted of. And they closed out 22 more. One of them actually that they closed out for Wayne was Anthony Carter. And Anthony Carter definitely has a family member who was responsible for him.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's interesting about him, he lies all over the place.
Could we get one of the cousins on?
I already asked.
Okay.
Yep. We're actually working on doing that. So this upcoming, I asked him if he could come on Tuesday, but he can't do Tuesday because his mom is having surgery on her eyes and he's going to be taking care of her. On Wednesday, we have, I think it is the lady who is the survivor from the Aurora, Colorado mass shooting, the theater.
Yes.
Yeah, her name is Rowan Richards. Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
she's a
so
really good person, and that'll be on StreamYard as well because she doesn't have a TikTok.
okay. Well, and then we'll stream it to TikTok. We'll figure this out a little bit better next time.
Yeah. Sorry, Lori. I didn't mean to. And Sunny, I'm getting used to all these devices at one time.
Yes. Now I am working on getting Kenneth Bianchi to talk to me. They only tried him. I mean, technically they tried him on 2, but they brought in 10 pattern cases so 12 total. Wayne's case came right after the case of James Walraven, and James Walraven was known as the Atlanta bathtub strangler. And in his case, they brought in additional cases as well to show like similar transactions or patterns, if you will. And it was successful with him. And so when Wayne's case started, that's exactly what they went for with him as well. So that's where they brought in those additional cases. I will say this. I know I talked about it last night, but I know some of you weren't on with us last night. But the one thing that I will say about those fibers, other than the fact that there is new evidence about the fibers, is that the Lacard principle cannot be ignored. And the Lacard principle is the scientific principle that when there are two things that touch, there's mandatory transference both ways. So you have 29 victims, and you have, even if we're going with this 24 number, even if we're going with this 2 number, how do you have transference one way all those times? So there's something of Wayne allegedly on them, but there's nothing of them on Wayne or in his environments or anything else. And there are some very good suspects that were just really never, I mean, they were looked at, but they weren't, I don't know, I guess they just weren't really taken seriously. One of them being a paramedic.
I know you love that paramedic theory.
Ugh, I love the paramedic. I do.
Andrew, do you know the child murders Wayne Williams case?
I'll be honest. I don't really know much about older cases. Like I know he's convicted of 2 homicides, if I'm not mistaken, and I know he's suspected of like 22 to 29 or something like that. But I really don't know much about it. That's why I want to. When Amy can get the cousin on, I would love for him to talk a little bit about it and his cousin and everything, because it's obviously like a golden age case, as they call them, you know.
Oh yeah, it's just like the West Memphis 3. I mean, we had, if any of you guys were around, there was a curfew. We had a curfew because so many kids were being, kidnapped and murdered and stuff. We had a curfew, and my mom made the statement that after Wayne was caught, the murder stopped. And I said, no. They stopped reporting on murders after Wayne was
They stopped counting
caught.
in the news.
Yes. They stopped telling us
Yeah.
that people were being murdered. The media can really screw things up.
They can. And in that particular case, I think the media had a large part to do with how this whole list came to be anyhow. But Chet Detlinger was the assistant deputy chief of police at one point. He was under John Inman. And he ended up leaving the Atlanta PD, and he wrote a book called The List. And I think that Chet Detlinger is absolutely a very good suspect that should have been looked at some point, at least for knowledge. And he admits he was a suspect. He stated that he was, it was because he had given them information on where or where they were going to find bodies, and they did. But the thing that I think is interesting about him, and this is just, I don't know, maybe this is just legal nerd for me. But when I bought his book, The List, what I thought was interesting about it was he has 63 other victims total. And some of them tie into other, cases that were on the official list, we'll say. And I made the decision that I was going to go one by one and I was going to look at them. And the very first one that came up was Cynthia Montgomery. And they said that she was a 14-year-old who lived at 31 Shirley Place. And I can't remember if they said that I think they said she was strangled in a hotel room. Strangled in a hotel room. Anyhow, I had her records pulled. I did a FOIA. And when they pulled her records, her name was Cynthia Smith. She was 18 years old. She didn't live at 31 Shirley Place, and she had been stabbed. I might be getting the stabbed and the strangled backwards, but anyhow, my point is, FOIA has been around since long before Cynthia went missing and was found murdered. This also is a person who came from the police department, and he absolutely would have known how to get these records and ask for these records. So why did he write a book reporting false information? Makes zero sense.
And Lori says it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
On a big console TV. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I don't even know. I just felt like they didn't have, it's like the fiber, the carpet. Like that's, again, with Terry, that's all they had. And the bridge. But what does that say? Okay, people drive on bridges all the time. It happens every day.
Right.
And then the difference between the two women that were assaulted, like, why? He didn't do that.
So what she's talking about is the fact that there were two females out of the list of the 29. And, some of the prevailing theories are one that, Wayne was using music to lure kids. Well, there was only one victim out of all 29 that was interested in music, and that was Patrick Rogers. So it doesn't make sense that you would be luring people with something that they don't like. Second thing is there were theories that, Wayne's gay. And, these were all, sexually motivated things. But it was like the only victim that was sexually assaulted was one of the two females. And Angel Lanier was found tied to a tree. She had been sexually assaulted. And she had somebody else's underwear in her mouth. And what was interesting about this is when you look at somebody during that same time period, I wish I could put up a picture, but there was a guy, his name was LaPass Favors, and him and his brother Rodney and their cousin Anthony Amp Wiley, they were all convicted of I think it was the rapes also, but definitely the murder of Jean Bice, and then Betty Ann Miles was sexually assaulted during this process as well. And the MO that was used by Amp Wiley was just like Angel Lanier, minus stuffing something in the mouth. And so it was like, okay, so LaPass Favors looked like Wayne. If you would have backed him up like 40 years and threw some glasses on him, and he really and truly, I'd have to show you the pictures. Maybe I'll make a TikTok about it to show you guys, because it was really weird when I saw this one particular picture. I was like, that could have been Wayne. And there was actually somebody, there are plenty of these reports that they're talking about, it was Wayne, but he wasn't wearing glasses. Well, unfortunately, for everybody who's saying that that's Wayne, that's not Wayne, because Wayne is blind like I used to be. And he's been wearing glasses ever since he was a little boy. So, your cousin was tied to a tree. Oh, that's the case that you were talking about.
What's the case, Lori?
It's the one she said she doesn't talk about.
Oh, gotcha. That's right.
So yeah, it's a very interesting case. And the one thing that I think is the most important out of all of it is to remember that talk about those cases individually. Any other case, talk about them individually. It's okay if they end up connecting in the end, but oftentimes with these older cases, you end up getting a lot of people who are victims who have, it's worth having their stories told, but it doesn't happen because they become a nameless, faceless collective when they get lumped into being called like the Atlanta child murder victim. And they just lose like their everything that's unique about them and their cases. So there you go.
There you go.
So Andrew, I am working on Ken still, just so you know. I actually met Andrew through Kenneth Bianchi, and you probably know him through his moniker, which that one I never understood either. But that is the Hillside Strangler case. And he was convicted in Washington and California. And that's how I met Andrew.
Yep, small world.
I did not know that.
Yes. You didn't know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting is oh my gosh. Somebody boot that person.
Yeah,
There we
hang
on. So you were talking about, Wayne, and you've talked to him. I promise you, Ken is nothing at all like what you would expect either.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, I think Ken did it. So my opinion, although I haven't talked to Ken, but I feel like, I don't know. For some reason, I just like Wayne. I can't help it, and I don't know why. I really can't. I can't help it.
Don't tell him.
I know, but it's just there's just I don't know. I just don't know.
But you know what? Honestly, I think if you talk to Ken, you would really like Ken. Ken is he's so polite. Am I wrong,
creepy.
Andrew?
He's creepy.
Yeah, he's really polite actually. I mean, whether you think he's guilty or not, Ken's a really respectful dude, and we actually had a video visit like a week and a half ago, which was cool. I'm planning to go see him this summer if he'll allow me to.
That's going to be interesting.
Rob, do you have to give... I absolutely do.
I do too as well.
Rob. I haven't looked into the case that much, so I honestly can't say whether I think he's guilty or not. I would have to look into it because I don't want to base an opinion off of others' opinions, if that makes sense.
Right.
Oh, I have the case file. I have a lot of the case file anyhow.
I mean, and I didn't have the case file, but I just let me put it to you this way. They didn't prove it, in my opinion. I think that and I've seen this in a lot of these cases, the media and law enforcement just want to shut it all down, so they just randomly pick someone or pick someone that looks good, and they're like, oh yep, you did it. They need to get the public behind them, and that's all they need for conviction is public opinion.
Public opinion is strong.
Who do you think those 12 jurors, where do you think they came from? Atlanta, when we had a curfew.
You don't have to unsubscribe to Andrew just because it's my opinion.
Yeah, I said I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. I haven't looked into the case that much, honestly, but you can unsubscribe. It won't hurt my feelings.
No, yeah. The bottom line is we're all entitled to our opinions. And I think when and I mean, Amy and I have a bunch of case files that we look at, that we actually see the evidence. So, I mean, it is what it is. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And we're all entitled to them. We're all entitled to them as well. It's even like the people that were on there during Terry. Listen, I respect your opinion. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lose friends or call someone names or whatever because they don't agree with what I'm saying. I mean, they had no evidence in Wayne Williams, period. Period.
I actually have a recorded phone call with one of the lead investigators who said very specifically we had nothing on Wayne. And he said we were surprised that he even got convicted. And when when the new evidence does come out, I promise you it is going to be a game changer. Absolutely going to be a game changer because it's all about the fibers.
Well, look at Peterson. What's his name? Scott Peterson.
I was going to say which Peterson because we have Drew and Michael.
Yeah. I believe that he did it point blank in the story, whatever. But the Innocence Project says they have proof he didn't.
Right.
So let's see the proof, and I'll change my mind. But until then, I'm not changing my mind. Again, same thing with Wayne. Same thing with Case Santee. She's guilty. Same thing with O.J. Simpson. She's guilty, but he's guilty, or at least I think he is. But the unfortunate truth is they didn't prove it. So if you don't have proof, you just don't have proof.
Yeah. Well, and the thing of it is, I will say that legal innocence in terms of OJ and actual innocence are two very different things because I truly believe that he was, actually, partially guilty, but I understood the legal innocence.
Me too.
One of my favorite cases.
But again, I've said since day one, because I watched every day of that trial as well. Day one, someone helped him.
I think so.
I stand by it to this day. Someone helped him. I always said it was the older boy, Jason, but, may not be him, but someone helped him.
Well, it's interesting on, on the West Memphis case, one of the things that they rely on is the fact that there were 3 different knots and, so they're saying, well, that shows that there's 3 different people. But on OJ's case, there was the way that Nicole was killed versus the way Ron Goldman is different also. And nobody goes, oh, there must have been somebody else,
Exactly.
The must have just been him. So it's crazy. Well.
Yeah, agreed. Anything else y'all want to discuss? Did we still have the daughter on?
Oh, I don't know. But I do want to say that I am used to people just randomly blocking me. I'm not used to them like unsubscribing though through somebody else. Sorry, Andrew.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, I didn't say that I thought Wayne was innocent or guilty. I just said that I haven't looked into his case that much. So I think they misconstrued what you guys were saying. I think he thought or she thought that all of us thought he was innocent. But yeah, I don't have an opinion, to be honest, yet.
Actually, I even said I actually think he is. I didn't say anybody else. So,
well, I mean,
good.
I think at the end of the day, we're entitled to our opinions. I mean, everybody is, and I respect everybody's opinion.
I want you both to know that as I have been sitting here, I have probably seen at least 15 auto messages coming up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's OTTO instead of AUTO.
Oh, yes. Otto Smith. He's a serial killer in Ohio. It's going to be interesting. All right. Well, we won't keep you guys.
All right.
Sonny,
Later, y'all.
you like him.
Sonny, I know. I get it. I totally get it. But okay, I'm just going to say this one last thing. The fact that he was open and somewhat honest and somewhat open and somewhat remorseful will make me tune in longer.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it will make me want to listen to you because, and I'm not saying I've ever killed anyone, but I will say I've made a ton of mistakes.
You're not saying you haven't.
Yeah, I've made a ton of mistakes in my life that I regret and would do over if I had to. So I'm not saying that people can't change or, that he's not regretful. I mean, if you're willing to talk about it and help us understand why, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
Because Otto is one of those people, and everybody on this knows how I feel about incest and pedophilia. Otto was abused by his mother at the age of 7. What?
No, that was Arthur.
Oh, that was Arthur. But Otto was too, wasn't he?
He was abused. He hasn't gone into the full extent of his abuse. Did he with you, Andrew?
I'm not sure if he was sexually abused or not, honestly, but I know he was physically abused.
Yeah.
When
So
he
He
was
was physically abused.
what
and
else was he going to be?
Well,
I mean,
he also
what? Go ahead.
he also was sort of trained to kill animals.
Wasn't Jeffrey Dahmer also trained by his dad?
I don't know. Was he?
I'm not
pretty
sure. I
sure-
know he kept like dead animals in jars and stuff like that. If you watch, I think it's My Friend Dahmer or Dahmer. I forget what one it is, but I know he was keeping animals in jars at one point in time. I don't know if he was putting alcohol in them or just having their like dead carcasses rot. But yeah, that was. I don't know if Dahmer actually like abused animals. Though I could be wrong though.
Well, so when I say that, I was just going to say that when I say that Otto was kind of trained to, I don't mean like anybody was like standing there showing him how to. I mean, he was kind of put on the task of, we're going on the lam again, so you've got to get rid of the animals. So he was, taught it's okay to do this.
That it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that in most of these cases, they were abused at early ages, whether it was physical or mental, sexual, psychological, whatever. Not saying, and I've said this multiple times, it's not an excuse, but it is a reason. Not everybody that's been sexually abused or mentally or physically abused turns out to be a serial killer, but only by the grace of God. Only by the grace of God.
Yeah. It's interesting. And that's one of the sending you down the rabbit holes. Bye, Mom. Listen, there's all kinds of interesting people we've been talking to. And speaking of, when we were having the conversation with Erica Castro Miles, is that right? Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I know that there were a lot of people who were listening to it who were super frustrated with like saying she wasn't taking accountability and things like that. And I kind of picked up on that from her as well. But then when I listened to her co-defendant, Stephen Wiggins, talking, I was like, I get it. Like now I understand why she was coming, the way she just came off as she wasn't taking responsibility. It was interesting. So I think there's you got to have these conversations and talks.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. I'm gonna hit the road.
Me too. It's time for Mexican food.
All right. See y'all's. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.